I'm gonna start it right now.
No.
She said no.
So you're gonna have.
Usually we fill up the room.
Nancy.
Everything.
This is the morning meeting.
Yeah, it's just, and then you just click
What
a
if
step.
you were?
Ladies, do you go
What
downstairs?
difference does it
We
make?
usually go downstairs. Is there a way, can we go downstairs?
Right about.
Yeah,
Give me
just
5
right there.
minutes.
We might have
There
more
we
homeowners
go.
coming.
Okay, just a second, okay? Okay.
Oh, I don't go on there anymore.
No.
Also,
I don't need, but I wanna know what difference does it make if she wants?
What? Drink?
Yeah,
Her decisions,
but she's not sending that.
she's voting on decisions. She's making decisions.
Why do you guys look for stuff
We're
like
not, it was
this?
brought to us by other
So
people.
why do you
Smelling
bring it?
booze and slurry.
It was to our attorney, no one else. It was to
So
the
how did you get
attorney.
there?
Because the attorneys don't understand confidentiality and they told our vendor, PSI.
So who's gonna care?
This is what we're spending our money on. This
No, that does
attorney
not
is what we're
cost you
spending our
nothing.
money on.
I just said Scott, so I'm not saying it's true, but what if it
I
was?
was on the phone
Neither
What
is,
was he
So
to
I've been
do?
playing around with it
You
last
know,
night.
okay, you can't sit still.
And
Your
I'm-
eyes are always like this. We heard that there's somebody on the board who's doing drugs.
Going.
Hmm, maybe it's you. I sat next to you the last 2 board meetings. I smelled it.
I'll talk about it.
Hot, baby.
you guys said
I went to high
that about Ryan.
No, I never said it about Ryan.
Yeah.
I suspected him.
Is this
But
coming from
see,
one
this
who's
is getting
accused?
so petty that it's ridiculous.
Why are you both recording?
We each have our own purpose, I guess.
It doesn't matter if you did have drinks before you came.
Thank you. All right, I am done with you people.
Should we call
Yes,
this meeting to
please,
order,
thank
please?
you.
Now, we only have a couple of things to discuss, so I don't think this is gonna be a long drawn-out affair.
Go ahead, keep this. I'd like you to know what we're spending our money on.
That didn't cost you a dime.
The one
It will
thing
be.
that we mentioned we have to make a decision on is snow plowing. So, we have a proposal here that I'm looking at right now. And this will commence, I guess, for this season,
Where's Frank?
He's on his way.
November 1st, 2012 through...
Okay, you wanna move down to the basement?
Yeah, let's move.
Okay.
Okay, if you move to the basement, you're gonna have to set up your own tables and chairs.
That's fine.
So why don't we just stay here until we
In
overpower
case
this?
more homeowners come.
Well, yeah, just in case more we can move.
If they come, let's move, if they don't, let's stay.
Are you eating your dinner?
Yes, I am.
Do we have that option? If more come, can we go down? And if,
Let's move. Can you, no,
There's people coming now.
here's Dad, okay. That's okay, whatever you wanna do, whatever you wanna do, whatever you wanna do.
Whatever.
who's coming?
You're gotcha, hon.
I heard you.
I'll give
Let's
it
stay
to you.
here. We're here.
Punches could fly easier in here. Boom.
Carol, what's in your tray?
I know.
Check
I'm not
yours.
voting.
Check yours.
This is a big what? What's it called? A Kahlua?
Is it like a Long Island or something?
No.
I don't know, I don't
That's clear.
drink usually.
I don't drink either, but I was
All right,
a
snow
bartender
plowing.
for a little bit.
I wanna get out of here.
Where's Max located? Are they local?
Wakanda, yeah. Wakanda.
How many,
Sorry, I didn't print extra for everybody. Because
Sorry.
I'm not getting reimbursed from the association for paper aid, so I just wanted to print one copy.
okay, so how many proposals have you got?
Here, if you want to look at. I got 3.
3.
I had, I think, 1 or 2 companies didn't respond.
So did you guys decide on the landscaper?
No, this is
No.
just snow. We're gonna cancel landscaping and this is just our contract for.
I'll pass this around.
Hi.
You can look at it.
Did I make a mistake or something?
No, why?
No.
This
Are you
is-
gonna be here?
This is the football group?
No.
No.
But you could come in with us anyway.
Is there a football group that's supposed to be here tonight?
It's 7.
Oh.
Okay,
Are
then
they
we
going
better
down?
go
Okay, then we have to go
downstairs. We
downstairs.
better move.
No, no, wait a minute.
Are we going down or?
Do you
What did
need
make
more
fun
room?
with?
No.
You can go in there.
No.
Oh.
If nobody else comes, we're fine.
No, I
No,
got
they
him in the
need
meeting.
it.
Oh, you need
He's
here.
got it, he needs it.
All right, then we have to move.
We're gonna have to move into the other room.
Yeah,
I'm
move
pausing
here.
recording.
After this, do we have time for comments, like, or
Like an
whatever?
open forum? You could just shout out. It seems to be.
I did,
Seems to be the way it happens.
because I didn't have to.
So I can keep this going. no matter what.
Go for it.
Office
Oh, they're going downstairs now?
No, I guess they're going right there.
Oh, okay.
Doctors perform surgery.
We can come back for it in a minute.
Okey doke, thank you.
This is like a,
Excuse me, Frank.
Oh, pardon me?
this is like a jury room, ladies.
I do.
I would come closer.
Yep.
Recording it.
I'd expect them at your door. I had to stop them.
Chairs up to the table.
Let's see how you do against somebody who's had a stroke and cancer. Let's see how you do.
But he's threatening me?
No, that's what it's supposed to be.
Well, don't say anything, the cameras are going on.
You want me to call
Oh,
the police? I thought you were.
get it on. Pardon?
She'll beat you up.
Stuff.
The constant.
I have, so what's it's per plow? Is this per plow or just a total of 7,200?
Driveways and parking spaces plowing.
Just so you know.
1 inch to
what
3.9
our-
inches, 65 to 50. 4 inches plus 9,000 per foot. So that's for each occurrence.
What are we doing now?
I have,
Snowplow.
I didn't print out all my copies, but I have snowplow, 3 different companies for snowplow, that's one of them. He's got another one, and then she's got a third.
I'm sorry, is that per
So
plow?
that's per plow, driveways and parking spaces, 65.50, up to 4 inches, over 4 inches, 94.50. So that's each occurrence.
So could you say that louder? Are we?
Each occurrence from
Is
67.50, $6,750
No, for that one, it's like, what are you
to
doing?
That's what I have here. There's 3
9,450.
different.
So if it snowed over 4 inches 4 times, that's $36,000.
Right. So how much do we pay now for snow plowing?
Well, our current company that we have is about 25,000.
For
Okay.
the
Last
season?
year, right, last year was about 40,000.
But that's whether it snows or not. So that's a payment for that season.
Correct.
So that's what you're up against. You're up against per plow or for the whole season.
But it's like a crapshoot. I mean, you could
It
have,
is, absolutely.
you could have, a bad winter, or you could have like what we had last year.
Sidewalks, residential shoveling starts at 1,900 and goes up to 2,646. Sidewalks, village shoveling, 400 to 560. That I'm not sure I'm understanding what that is.
Down by the outskirts of the driveway.
Oh, so there's sidewalks and this
This is residential leading up to the doors.
up to the doors, okay. Is that per building?
I just want to see this one for a second.
Oh, Frank, did you get this too?
I'm sure he has it.
Yeah, I'm sure it is too, since he probably started.
I'm not quite sure I'm understanding this one.
This one is 2 to 4 inches. Here, this one's a little bit easier to understand. 2 to 4 inches, $18 per unit per bush. 4 to 6 inches, $24 per unit per bush. 6 to 9, 9 to 24, 24 plus. I don't know what,
T&M.
I don't know what T&M means.
Well, these are not giving you the price, time and material. 9 to 24 inches is also T&M.
So,
Right.
so are you all upset about this?
We're not discussing.
We're not discussing that now.
Discussing that now.
We'll discuss it later, after the meeting, privately.
But
Thank you.
this keeps going on and going on and going on.
It came from you.
So the major
You asked
thing
me
is,
about as a lush.
what, we get
I
to
do
stick
what?
out of Scott's ass. I mean,
Carol.
what could we do to have you change your attitude,
Carol,
Scott? Seriously, I mean,
I
all
know,
this is
I
a
know.
bunch of bull,
I know it's serious, but we're here to talk about only three
but
different
nothing's
things.
gonna get settled. It's just gonna keep going on until he
Gets off the board.
changes his attitude.
I agree.
So what is the beef? I would like to know.
Here, read this, it came from the,
Oh, please, that's
from the
so
Supreme
ridiculous.
Court of Illinois.
The government doesn't even follow the Constitution. What is the problem?
Be nice to have open meetings.
It is though, how much more open do you want it? Hold it out in the
Did
street?
I get any of this communication? No. Do you
Oh,
see
it's
anything?
God.
What communication?
You started the
I
communication.
just got it all.
Yes, I know. And if it wasn't for
Okay,
me here,
all right,
I'm
let's
fighting
keep,
to get
let's,
it. Okay?
Why can't you
Can I
just,
Why can't lawyers play the same game that they expect
let's just
us
keep
to?
looking here.
Okay?
we don't have a lawyer.
Confidentiality, okay? None of this is
See, what
supposed
this
to be
one
messed
does-
with them.
Stick
All right,
with this right
I'm
now.
sorry, I'm sorry.
But when is this
I'm
gonna
sorry.
be settled?
I know.
I don't know.
Well,
I
it has to be.
was hoping things were moving on, but
But it
after
can't be
today,
settled here and now. It has to be settled at a different venue, a different time.
Why?
Because we have to talk, we have to get a snowplow on
So-
board. I mean, that, we have to think about.
We'll discuss more at the end.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
but it's ridiculous.
I've asked
Even
for a year and a
already,
half for records.
when you sit here and look at
Okay.
We
him,
approved you to get
Where
them,
are
for
they?
God's sake. You had to go get
You're over the
them.
temper tantrum.
I have heard
somebody
nothing.
has to get over it before we can go and move on.
Absolutely right.
about that.
So why, that's what should be addressed, not snow plowing and butches.
Carol,
My
Yes.
Irish up.
we have to move forward, please.
Okay, move forward, it's not gonna do any good, he's gonna veto everything and.
Yeah.
No, we're just discussing things. This is not gonna be put to a vote right now. But when it does snow, don't you wanna make sure that we have a snowplower on board to?
I'm not working, I don't care.
Most people are.
I'm kidding.
This one, it doesn't talk about per unit, this one talks about per unit per push, this one talks about, looks like it's the whole community. 0 to 4
What
inches,
company is this?
JV Enterprises in Barrington.
But see, right now, those should have been printed out for us to be looking at too.
That's my fault,
Right,
it's my fault. Because I contacted.
I could have
Yes.
given you paper.
It's not even, it wasn't even a matter of that. I had 2 other companies that since last week didn't respond.
Hello?
I'm sorry.
More important, I think, is that all of these people up here discuss it and figure it out.
You know, Carolyn, if you don't mind, the way these workshops are designed to work, so that they are open meetings, is so that the 5 of us discuss the issues at hand,
Yeah,
regardless if it's decks, landscape.
so why do we come then?
You come here
It's your
to
choice.
listen. It is solely up to you. That's why they are open meetings. It's for the transparency, so the whole community knows what goes on.
But
Now,
we
now
don't-
I do agree that if we're going to discuss something, we all should have copies of it. But, you know, hey, you printed it
I
out
just
today,
said,
that's
right,
fine, that's
right.
fine.
You can see the dates on the email.
But now, these solely are just up for our discussion. We're here for your inputs. We're here for your suggestions, so on and so forth.
Okay, how can I have an input when I don't have any information to put?
And I,
No pudding.
but this is solely a workshop, meeting slash,
Exactly.
So that
Whatever.
I'm like superfluous or whatever, I mean, I shouldn't
all
even be
you're
there.
here, and I'm not trying to insult you, but all you're here to do is listen.
Yeah, and I'm not good.
Well, that's why I'm
That is
asking,
not one of my
that's why I'm
major
asking you to
skills.
kind of bear with us. We are not making decisions on who's going to get a snow plowing contract. We have to compare prices, we have to compare services. And then we will see who's the best for us. Who's the most competitive, who's gonna give us the best service, who's gonna give us the most service for our dollar. I
Which
mean,
one I can negotiate with to come down
Yeah.
the prices.
that's the bottom line. I mean, that's how everything works.
She's
there.
very good at that. I want her.
So, we've got a long way to go on the snow plowing, it's not gonna happen overnight. You saw how long it took for us to finally come to a decision on repairing these decks.
Please.
It took over a year.
I've been here 6 years since it opened,
It's
and
been over a year. And that's why we invited the village to come and speak at the board meeting. And when we heard the report from the village, then we knew what we had to do.
so then did they start it yet?
Well, the contracts are being written right now.
And then this is hourly. And this
And it
is.
probably will commence within the next 3 weeks.
I'm gonna start listening, maybe.
All right, so,
I mean, it's like this one does per unit, this one is per hour, and this one is per push. So they do it all, they kind of,
they don't jive, and we
Right.
can't compare apples to apples. So what I would suggest that we do is go to each one of these and see if they could break it down so that we could actually compare apples to apples. Whether it be per push or per hour,
or per
per year,
unit.
per season. Would you agree? Would you agree on that premise? I mean, you can't compare something if it's not equal.
Right.
And everybody has their different way of giving quotes.
Right.
And obviously, we have 3 people here that do it differently.
Well, I think,
Well, that's interesting. If we multiply the 2-inch one, 18 per unit at 177, that's 3186. Where this one says it's 3,000 per push, I'm assuming that's everybody.
Right.
And you have there per hour, how long is that gonna take? I don't
Per
know.
hour.
How long?
It depends on how many
Oh.
people.
Well, it depends on
But this,
equipment.
this one also does driveways and parking spaces,
Oh.
for $67.50, it's including the parking spaces.
Oh,
Those
60, that's almost twice.
See, there may be a company that has 2 or 3 bobcats, there may be another company that has 1 bobcat. One guy could get done maybe in half a day, and another guy could be there all day. One guy may start at midnight and plow till 8 o'clock in the morning, one guy might start at 6 o'clock and plow till noon. So, there's a lot of things to consider, and you're not gonna get a fair assessment until we get some kind of equality between the way they're bidding.
Interesting. how they do it.
So, who's representing what company? You're representing which company? What company did you get? You got this
I
one?
got all 3.
Oh, you got all 3? Okay.
Yeah.
so I didn't even know we were doing this.
Yeah, we've done it again. Okay.
We're not voting or anything, I mean, if you have another
Well, I mean,
company,
it
because I think we're still going
It
to
was
get other
on
companies.
as well, our board meeting, if you look at the
It was
minutes.
one of many things that we have to figure out and make a decision.
You're all talking about the last one?
That was from the board
Okay,
meeting.
yeah.
Landscaping and snow, we discussed when we were gonna be sending out the cancellation contract, to cancel the contract with that
All
company.
right, how about this? How about if I take all 3 of these, I kind of read over them and
Sure.
digest
I got
them?
more, I'll email all 3 of
And
you.
then I'll write up a more of a standardized combination of what
Can you
they're
hear the
bidding on.
neighbors? Because since they do the master, it'd be easier to
Does
piggyback
that
on
make
them.
sense, if I can do that? Frank?
You know, if we were gonna negotiate contracts with these guys, I mean, maybe have them rewrite their own contract and say, hey, can you do this, instead of you doing it. I mean, that way it is
Well, they did.
transparent to everybody.
They did that. They did 3 different ways. They gave us pricing on, based on 3 different scenarios. So how can we compare?
Right, if you submit your scenario, they will
Right,
follow.
like what I'm saying is, like here, I only looked at one, so I don't know what they all look like, but, let's say, for example, yeah, no, it's just per plow. Okay, well, one of these is broke down per unit, and then one of these is broke down amount of inches, like this one here, per unit, per push, 2 to 4, $18. All right, now let's say, because I know we had templates, because Nancy's already sent a few of them to me. We send our template back. We say, hey, we have 177 units. Can you tell us what you will cover this price, this amount of inches. Very similar, that way they're all transparent. So when we do pass these out to everyone, if that is our option, then everyone understands, oh, they're all the exact same format. They're all the exact same layout, only the pricing is different. It's not,
I mean, I can put it in an Excel sheet if that's what you're looking for.
yeah, no, but I mean, that's what he's saying he would do too. I mean, I could probably, you give me 20 minutes and I can probably figure it all out.
Why don't I just write all the companies and ask them?
Yeah, I
Send me
mean,
the copy of the template. I'll email all of them and ask them to,
I've got the template that Nancy recently sent to us.
Is that the contract template or the?
Yeah, the contract. Because she sent me two. She sent me the existing contract, and then she sent me the template that we sent everybody.
Right.
yeah, they'll send it to me right away. If you want to send it to me, and I'll write each of them tomorrow.
Yeah, I can put it in an
And once I
Excel
get it
sheet
back-
and we can just add
Well,
on
if he
other
does the
ones.
template, then I'll email it all. Once I get it back from everyone, I'll email it all to everybody. I'll include us all if that's okay, and I'm not being
When do you think you can?
annoying with an email.
You give me just about a few minutes, and I'll have it pull up here. She just emailed it to me.
But I think the template more has to do with, making sure that wasn't swearing. Making sure that they have
Well, no, the
insurance.
contract, right, the
They're
contract.
bonded and they're insured.
Right, the contract is, but now the template that she sent is, because I sent it to the landscaping guys who we talked with,
Mhm.
and they went off of what she sent. So,
Okay.
give me just a moment.
Yeah, they're all gonna have to abide by the insurance
Right.
requirements.
And that's part of the contract, to make sure.
All right,
All right,
so
so-
we can move on now? You're gonna
good that
get
we
this
got-
template if you can pull it up?
So Frank, you gonna do the template?
He's gonna find
He's
it.
gonna-
No, I'm just gonna pull up the one that Nancy Hankins sent me, and then I'll forward it to everybody while I'm sitting here, and then that way, whoever wants to take it, so I can
I can do an Excel
Well,
spreadsheet.
do you want me to, I can ask them to break it down and do per push, per unit, the two other companies.
That's good,
Is it good with everybody?
yeah. Instead of hourly or lump sum.
Right, to break
But
it
it looked like
down.
that one company is just, 6,000 for the whole year, or whatever it was. Was that for the whole year? No.
I don't think it's, I
No,
think it's
no.
not per year. We're all mixed up.
That was per occurrence.
Oh. But yeah, that was twice as
So
much.
you have
Just
a
per
bad-
unit,
you
it's
have a
just
bad year.
$3,000.
We have 6 to 8 occurrences, times $6,000,
Right.
you're talking 50 grand. All right, can we move on now?
Yes,
Okay, number 2, I think we have to go back to landscaping.
yes.
I just wanted to give you this is what we're spending a lot of our money on.
It didn't cost you a dime.
Now, let me
Slanderous thing about me.
explain something about this landscaping. I finally got a hold of John Deere, representative, he did come out Monday. I was the only one here to talk to him. And when he came on the property, he immediately said that the appearance of what he sees, and he sees quite a few communities like ours, is unacceptable. He said no matter who's got any kind of a contract dealing with our property, it's unacceptable. It would be an unacceptable landscape scheme to create what we have here, all right? He cannot suggest to us who to use as far as a landscaper because he represents many landscapers. He even represents our landscaper because he sells the products to everybody. They all go to him to buy the products that they're gonna use for whatever reason in a community. He just told me what was wrong with our landscaping, and basically he said there's probably 3 different things. We were affected by the drought, as if everybody was. The drought not only causes grasses to go into dormancy, if it's the right type of grass, but it also causes certain insects to come about that wouldn't normally be there. He says.
Is that the grubs?
No, it's not the grubs. There's like 3 other insects that attack grassy type of plants. He said also the way they cut the grass, when they cut as often as they've been doing, they actually damage the leaf that comes with the plant like grass. And once you damage that leaf, you know, he says they rarely cut it shorter than 4 inches, 3.5 maybe, but he says a lot of them kept to 4 inches this past year. Because they damaged the leaf, the insects were able to attack it, and they caused a lot of the grass to appear as it's appearing. The grass that's dead, that you see all the large brown spots, he said that grass is gone. There is no more grass. Those were definitely attacked by grubs. And we're talking about the Japanese beetle grub. That's that little white grub you see underneath. You pull up that turf, you'll see that little white type of caterpillar-looking thing with a brown little head. That's where he chomps on the grass, and he just keeps moving and moving and eating the roots and eating the roots. He said this year there were probably 3 to 4 periods of egg laying. So it wasn't just a one-time deal. They might have been there in the spring, which we found out that our landscaper did not spray for it. So in the spring, our turf was not treated for those Japanese beetle grubs. Now, why that happened, I don't know. I can't really say. But if in fact we had given them the okay to spray for those grubs, it would have been a major or substantial cost to us for them to do that. Lay people would assume that those are the grubs that people would spray for. When I did mention that they sprayed for the green borer, the green ash borer grub, he said, well, those aren't found in the grass. Those are found in other areas. They're found on trees.
Yeah.
They're not found in the lawn. So how could they spray on the turf, if that's what he meant or insinuated, for that type of grub? Because when he said grubs, I didn't go any further until after, and then he changed the story that it was not the Japanese beetle grub.
So what do? We take
So
up,
I
take
asked
up
him,
everything and
no,
just?
listen, I said, what would you do? If this were your property, what would you do? He says, well, there's a lot of different ways to handle this. One was to treat the soil, but he said you would need so much product, it would cost a fortune to really treat this clay. He said probably the best way right now is not to worry about it at this point. Let it go. You know, whatever's going to die is already dead. Whatever weeds are there are going to be killed off. Weeds that do come back can be handled next spring. He said in certain areas, small areas, especially in the fronts, you could take the turf up to a certain extent and put topsoil down, either slit seed, which he says is a very good process, but he says it's very expensive. He suggested to me, he says, if you have any people, well, he saw what I did on my property. He said, if you get people like you could rent a slit seeder and you could save yourself a ton of money. Now, you could do that slit seeding now, and whatever seeds go into the earth will lay dormant if they don't germinate, and it will germinate next spring. Or you do it next spring, or you take the turf up, you treat it with some topsoil, and then you use that tall fescule seed as a planting rather than a sod application. Question, Carol, question.
Okay, so you pull up the dead grass, and you do, so what do you do to treat the grubs? You spray
Well,
them?
that's a granular chemical.
I mean, but you do that before you put new
You
topsoil.
would do that in the spring.
So if you put new topsoil, you don't do anything to the grubs? You just throw the topsoil on
No.
top of the grubs?
Whatever grubs are there now
Yeah,
are gonna, develop next spring either into a beetle
uh-huh.
and come out, or you kill them before they come out. It's a one-time application, and in a 24-hour period, you have to water,
Mhm.
and that chemical will kill those grubs.
Okay.
And that's how everybody treats for grubs. Whenever you see those people, putting on that application, that black granule material,
Mhm.
that's usually a type of fertilizer and a grub treatment. And then you water that 24 hours, and of course that will take care of whatever grubs are alive in that turf. But that was just one method. There's a lot of other methods that he suggested. Aerating, he says, is great, but he says you really have to aerate. It's like a triple aeration. And he said you can leave the plugs on there, or you're gonna have to take them off, but then you have to reseed after that. So those were two different kinds of scenarios. The best way is what he saw, what we were doing, is taking the clay up and the stone and putting 5 to 6 inches of topsoil. He said, but you can't do the whole area. And we're just talking about the fronts to make them look more appealing for curb appeal. So in that instance, I would say certain areas could be replaced with topsoil, certain areas could be slit seeded, certain areas could be topical treatment of maybe 1 to 2 inches of topsoil. So we have our different methods in that respect.
But you gotta rake up that dead stuff,
So
right?
you have
Pull
to
up
take
that.
up that dead stuff is gone. It's never, ever gonna come back. It's just gonna become part of the organic material that's gonna lay there. And right under that is, unfortunately for us, is clay. And I think everybody knows that that's what we have. So this whole area is basically pretty much hard pan clay.
So we have a really narrow window here to do anything before winter.
The window's almost
2
gone.
weeks.
The window's almost gone because
So we're thinking probably next spring.
you could seed like some of the areas that we treated already with topsoil. You could seed that. Penny after to put sod down. I think the sod's doing pretty well.
Wonderful, yeah, it's doing great.
So that should come back as long as the snow plows don't rip it apart. So they have to be vigilant or we have to be vigilant when they come in. And of course, we all go back to the main item of watering. So once you start treating this lawn, you absolutely have to water. You cannot get away from that. If you do not water, then it goes right back to where we're now. Did you ever notice, especially at the model on the corner, you see all this sod laying there. Did you notice how it separates? He says, when they don't water that sod, it shrinks. And when it separates, that's how the seeds from the other surrounding weed plant material, that's how they reseed along those cracks. So you notice that all those weeds are growing in between the sod pieces. Once that weed starts, it takes over and basically smothers out any grass that gets in its way.
One thing about the granules and treating for grubs is it is dangerous for pets until it is
Yes.
fully absorbed into the soil. So anyone who does have pets, you're gonna find some way to keep them off until those granules are completely absorbed into the soil and it's dry.
Not only pets, but kids.
Exactly.
And that's the danger with chemicals. When you have clay like we have, we could have grass, but you'd be forever spraying chemicals on that to keep it alive. There has to be more of a substance underneath that turf to regenerate good soil and to get those roots to go down where they should be going. Now, I've uncovered a lot of clay areas, and I find a lot of earthworms in the clay, but only because I've been watering.
I have a ton of worms.
When that clay stays moist and it's not hard like rock, those worms will take over, and that's, the worms are part of the transition from clay to a more suitable soil. But
But,
once
you
that
know,
clay dries out,
You guys are into the outside. I, will acknowledge that I'm not an outside person. I don't really, so I'm not gonna go out and water. Steve waters occasionally, but I'm sure there's a lot of people in.
That's kind of why it's
Right.
viable right now for us to do it, because we're in the rain season.
there are probably gonna be a lot of people like you, but then there has to be a lot
I
of
haven't had to
people.
water that much. I haven't had to water the sod that much.
Well, you had 2 rains
Right,
since you put it in.
right.
So those rains are even better than watering. Soaking rain
Right,
gets
the nitrogen, sure.
gets down into that soil. And you got almost 5 inches of
Yeah.
topsoil, so that draws that water down, and that's where the roots go.
Yeah.
That's why corn is so successful in the spring. If it rains, those
Sure.
roots from the corn go deep, and if it gets
So
to
we
be a
have
drought,
a
those roots are still sucking the
2-3
corn.
week window here. What should we do? What do you?
Well, I guess that would be to the community of how they wanna spend their money. We have X amount of dollars that we've, you know, that
That's our decision
that we've
to make,
not spent. Was that?
That's our decision to make. So we either gotta make the decision, or we just gotta sit on it until the end of next season.
This
mean,
is
we
like we
can't-
need to make it now.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I talked to Doug, he told me, he said, because he called Monday, and he was like, if you all don't get something done, 'cause if we get any more nights where it's 30 degrees or less, the guy from Dreaming Landscape, we're gonna get a heavy frost, and it's gonna kill the first moment of grass that we put down. And as far as the granules though, I mean, if we go ahead and drop that, we will be okay because the amount of moisture that we have at night, to where we're not gonna need a solid heavy rain. However, it is recommended that we go out and water it. But we're getting enough moisture now in the evenings to where it's okay. I mean, we're still getting a good dew, but the first frost we get, it's done. I mean, you forget planting, you forget. This is a decision.
I think you ought to do what you can with the front, you know, with the limited time you have now. And maybe, I don't know, maybe just get a good firm, you know, I mean, get something in that, you know, plan and action to say, all right, come this time next year, we already know what we want to do, and all you gotta do is just put it in motion, you know what I mean? You know, that's my 2 cents.
So you're opting to at least hire this gentleman on a limited basis for the next 2 to 3 weeks?
What he told me, he says, you know, because when he called Monday, he said, I didn't hear from you Thursday. I said, that was one of the rare littlest things that we talked about, and we didn't come to a decision on it. But he said, we're busy, however, if you are wanting us to get in, we can get in.
You're talking about the grubs, doing a chemical treatment.
Well, I'm talking about
grubs.
the whole deal. I mean, if we do grubs, they contract out, and I give you those numbers.
Are you talking about Doug doing the sled seating?
Yeah, that's what
You're talking
I'm,
about this,
Right.
between the buildings and everything?
right.
You're talking about the strips in between the driveways as well?
No,
Excavating and
the
redoing those?
strips is, that's totally up to us. That was our agreement when we talked to Steve, right?
Right.
So, I mean, now that, if we
Did you
want.
want to see Steve's proposal, or you just want to go with the more expensive one?
But
Because
I
he's doing
thought,
the
I
same.
didn't think Steve was business insured though. He was only insured for himself. If he's only insured for himself, we can't have a crew out, because now we're taking the liability. And on top of that, I mean, I've been in his shoes. I would love to have a job like that right now.
Well, and he can get insurance.
For himself, though.
But, right, for himself. He's gonna make a good profit off of us. But I really think that our community is a little big for a guy that's trying to start, you know, significantly. I'm all for him because I've been in his shoes. If
He's
he
actually just
had,
trying to save the association money because he lives here.
no, I
So
mean,
that's why
and I
he's
mean,
got
like,
that's
I'm
why
not,
he's
I'm
got a
not against it.
proposal. No, I understand, but that's why he's got a proposal for $2,700 as opposed to the $4,200.
Okay. But you're also looking at insurance liabilities, and I understand he gave you insurance, but I mean, have you looked at business insurance lately?
He said $600.
And is he gonna work during the week or
Well,
weekends?
he didn't say, that wasn't with topsoil, he said. Doug's was with topsoil.
Yeah, he said,
All his proposal was he was gonna come do split seed and overseed.
No dethatching?
yes, and they did that.
Yeah, and it's turf renovation, it would be split seed fertilizer, select areas will be dethatched to remove dead grass as well as thatch present in the turf. Selected areas will be split seeded and turf seeded.
And he doesn't think that we need the soil because the grass grows in between, the grass was fine in between the buildings. The grass doesn't grow very well in between.
The only reason why I suggested the soil, and they suggested the soil, and John Deere suggested the soil, because the soil is going to allow for more nutrients to cover up what the select areas are not getting. They're only going to do, when he said that they would bring in 2 to 3 inches of topsoil, they're bringing in 2 to 3 inches of topsoil in the sections like, I don't You live in a middle, who lives in a middle unit?
Yeah.
You live in a middle unit? Like in the middle units where you have the bigger squares,
Right.
they're gonna bring topsoils into those. Or they're gonna bring topsoils into,
But why? Why into those squares?
because they're gonna completely bring out all that dead grass. They're removing it totally. Then they're going to overseed it, so that way it has a more firmer nutrients as far as black dirt goes. You're not planting in clay like our sod is, and our sod that's not taken, they're taking it out.
I guess I just don't think that that's necessary in that big square. You see what my big square looks like.
Well, you're,
So I think
okay,
But
there's
some
more-
are
but
different.
you're in phase one. Remember what I told you, phase one, we found black dirt.
Right.
Phase twos and phase threes, we found no evidence of black dirt at all.
Oh, yeah, right.
So maybe in your area.
The
they-
unit
they could do that
that's,
test,
the
that they
unit,
wouldn't need it that much topsoil. But in areas like ours and on Waverly,
the unit that's
There's
over
nothing in
there, right directly across from Ryan, there's a DeSoto over there. It's been for sale for 6 months. One right next door to you. It's, all it has is dirt.
Yeah.
You know,
That's where
they,
those dogs
Is
took
it-
it out. There was
is
a
that where the
renter
rocks
there
are?
with the two
Yes.
dogs.
It's really-
That house is, it's owned by someone, and they're looking to, I think, it's for sale
It's
now,
been for
but
sale.
she was renting it.
okay.
And the renters that were in there used to put their dogs out the front door on those long
Mhm.
leashes, and she just leave them out there, and they did their business all over that front lawn, and now the tenant's not there anymore, and that's what's left.
I know, just my building, it's nothing but clay. I'm not opposed to his.
You know, I quite honestly, I don't care which one we'll go with. My end goal is I want the front ends of all the buildings to look nice. In
Right.
between the driveways, in between the buildings, everywhere. And if that means that we have to do soil, add soil there, if that means that we have to excavate and put new sod down, I'm all for all of it. Because I think everybody, like I
I
said,
think,
who've lived there for 6 years, almost 7 years already, paid their dues, and we all deserve green grass.
My whole outlook on looking at Dreams Granted was that this gives us the opportunity to see what type of business they do, and if they would be the type of group that we would want to come in for seasonal work. I mean, he already told us that he couldn't do seasonal work.
Right.
And that was kind of my reason for leaning towards him. I would like to see, when I was mowing, I would mow a yard for free. Wouldn't take nothing. But if you give me your service, I'm going to give you what I continue to do the first time. I think if we expect that out of them, and I have relayed that to them, we're going to get that service. It's not a large company like LCM. I think we're going to get more of a personal.
Which one?
I think I concur with Frank
That's fine.
on this issue.
I mean, they do offer snow removal, they subcontract their spraying.
Why didn't you get a proposal for snow?
I didn't know, I really didn't, I didn't even look at the book. I could call him tomorrow, I can get a proposal for snow removal, landscaping, the whole nine, I'll have him sent to us. Forgive me, I can't find the template that Nancy sent me, I don't know.
All right, well then, why don't you get the proposal for snow and landscaping from them?
Okay.
I'm gonna go back to all three of them and ask them for landscape and snow, because if you bundle it, it's less expensive
Right.
also.
Right.
So I'll get the breakdown per unit, per push, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we want to do this independent, just have this done since we have such a small window?
I'm game.
I'm game.
I'm game.
Me too.
That's what my hand was up for.
Oh, okay. And Carol says yes.
Okay,
That's it.
I'll make a motion.
To ask if you guys are gonna make a decision.
Well, now,
Yes.
hold on though. Now grubs, before they go doing this, we almost have to, see, I don't know about the granules. I don't think the granules will affect anything, but maybe we should have someone treat for the grubs firsthand, right off the bat. That way it doesn't affect any seed or anything like that. Don't think it's gonna put off enough chemicals to where it's gonna hurt the seed, but I'm not a biologist on that.
So when he
Why
goes,
don't you ask Kitty?
No, I can't, and I can't. Just,
Ask God.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I'm
what we just
saying.
said.
And chances are, there's not grubs in every area. Where you've got green grass, you have no grubs. Where you've got the dead areas, that's where the grubs are.
Harold?
How long would the,
Actually, there are grubs even where there is green grass, because Ryan next door to me, he actually pulled up a patch of lawn and there were grubs and it was green, thick grass. And there were not only white grubs, but there was a blackish brown grub that was huge. It was the size of, the thickness of my finger even.
We just do a whole grub treatment through the whole community. We have budgeted for it. We've saved $9,000 just from last year's landscaping budget. We have budgeted $25,000 this year for.
So then we have to hear from this gentleman here on what he would recommend
Yeah, he
in
gave me,
addition to, or,
right, I mean, we can get in addition to,
or if he thinks, next spring would be the time to do it.
to do the grubs.
No, the grubs-
He didn't tell me that, he didn't
The
tell me
grubs
this.
aren't, the grubs aren't eating seeds, they're eating.
They're eating
grass
roots, they're eating roots. He didn't tell me this, however, other guys I've spoken to said, you're wasting your money if you go and treat for them now. Because we're hitting a season of dormant, we all know what type of winters
But
we have
again,
here.
John Deere said that even though those seeds won't germinate now,
Right,
they will germinate in the spring.
right. But the guys that I was speaking to about the grubs, they were like, your ground is gonna freeze. He says, the moment you get your first thaw, you take advantage of that thaw and you drop them granules, and then granules are going to evaporate pretty quickly. I'll get his perspective, so,
Supposedly the expert.
I'll hit him up. Call him.
Well, let's move forward with this based on whatever he reports back.
Okay,
For grubs, for additional costs to treat grubs,
okay,
and/or leave them go and do it next spring.
okay.
Maybe there are certain things that, he didn't put in his report because he needed not to.
Right.
So let's,
So you want me to get an estimate to, now are we gonna do the whole facility?
the fronts,
I
right? The
I
fronts.
think we should just treat
Isn't
that.
that
Not the back.
I would do the whole facility.
Yeah,
If you treat the front,
Oh, you're talking about
grubs.
the, you're talking about the grubs. yeah.
right. I think we should treat the whole
Yeah.
community.
okay, alright, well, I will get a price for the whole facility. I wonder, does anybody know how much acreage we got?
I always guess at about 12 to 15
I was
acres
gonna
of
say
just
it's-
turf.
It's about to be somewhere.
Yeah, you're probably
I
right.
think Steve said about 15,000
Square.
square feet.
Okay.
I remember reading that in one of his,
Oh, the fronts,
The fronts though.
I was gonna say, cause Outlaw R is almost 15,
right,
Oh, yeah. That's a lot more than that.
so, okay.
yes.
Yeah,
Put it
it's
on
just-
that
just-
PUD.
I've ordered all the documentation from Volo, and I'm just waiting for it. Plat surveys, the drawings, architectural drawings, that will give us the square footage for acreage.
Okay.
When they're gonna get it, I don't know. Alright, so, alright,
So
so
I
we
will- I will
did agree
contact him.
to get these people on board and do, at least what they're telling us here, plus what they.
Plus grubs.
Plus what they think would be for grubs. So, the name of the company is?
Dreams Grant, I will give you this $1,000.
Dreams Grant.
So is that a motion passed? I take it?
She never made a motion.
I think we did make a motion.
Well, no, I stopped her.
No, well, yeah, and we might as well wait anyways until you hear back about the grubs.
You don't wanna do anything with the seeding and all that?
Well, I thought we were going to go ahead with this.
We're gonna have to
That's
go
what I
with this.
said, I just wanted to
immediately.
make sure.
So,
Alright, well, let's
there's no
let's
more
do
time
this.
to wait on this.
What, alright, do we wanna put a cap on how much we'll spend for the grubs? And then that way, if we can all come to an agreement on how much we want to spend, then that way we can go ahead and go through with it. Vice all of us getting back together, making a motion. I mean, if he gives me, says, it's gonna cost you $1,000 to do your whole facility, y'all kinda getting what I'm just,
Mm-hmm. You wanna put a cap on it?
And I think if we just put a cap on it, that way we can just all come to an agreement on how much we want to spend. I can say, this is what we need, that price looks good, let's get the ball rolling ASAP.
$1,000 would not be, out of reason,
What do you think?
because this is $4,200 for the actual work to be done. You want to cap it at $1,000 for growth?
1,000 to 1,500,
I would say 1,500.
1,500?
and,
All of that.
No,
I had a piece of paper here with some room on it.
So we're gonna have him do the grubs treatment first and then have him do this.
I'm gonna ask him.
Whatever he says.
I'm gonna ask him.
Whatever you say.
I'm just hesitant to spend the $4,300
Oh, no, yeah, I'm not gonna
and
let
then
him.
do this work and
Kill it.
then
right,
either the grub treatment not work or the grubs eat the seeds that start to germinate or
Right,
whatever, you know.
I got
I'm
a guy
hesitant
that,
to,
I'm gonna get a couple opinions on that before I make a final decision.
All right, back to a motion.
And I may talk to the rep from John Deere to
Okay.
see what his take on it is.
I don't think it's gonna hurt it. I mean, the moment that we plant, we spray, so I don't think it's gonna bother.
but we need to make, by the end of this week.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay,
I mean, we're talking, he was ready to move on this Monday.
It's already Wednesday, so
yeah.
Right.
you gotta talk to him tomorrow if you
Will
can.
do.
Just so I don't forget, you reserved Green Township for October 9th,
Correct.
so I'm assuming we're gonna
Right.
keep that date in
Yep.
place?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna make,
That'll be a workshop, not
Yes.
a workshop.
Did we get a
I'm
motion?
gonna make a motion
Okay.
to do this work,
Mhm.
provided we get the grub
Mhm.
information
Right.
with that, and no more than $1,500 on.
Sounds good. I like it.
I second it.
Third,
Good.
Can you make sure they put up notices for the poison?
Yes.
Okay.
So James Granted, was it Frank? Contractors.
Yes.
Were sinkholes on our agenda?
No, but we
They
put
were
them on
on
there.
agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, you said you found the bottom, you got the bottom.
I'm
let's do,
almost positive that I found
just read.
what's causing these
Sign
sinkholes.
the debt contract, did you sign the contract for the
He presented it to me.
Keep saying that.
I just want to
Yeah,
make
I
sure.
can, that's a big deal.
I can figure it out myself.
I can find it.
Let me ask you, are you getting reimbursed for those copies?
Okay, so sinkhole issues, what did you say about?
All right,
Yeah, you got it from her. She's-
on these sinkholes,
And it was
if anybody's interested about sinkholes,
Okay.
sent to the state about the attorneys, not about anything else.
they are occurring in certain areas of the driveways. And I recently patched one up, but before I patched it, I dug it up and took photos of it. I think I called everybody I could to come over and see it. So I got Jeff from Pepper Construction to come over and see it, and he pretty much concurred exactly the way I was thinking. It's being caused by any kind of movement in water through the substrata underneath these driveways. And it appears it's occurring where the downspouts actually go into the ground. And instead of this water going underground and popping up through that pop-up gizmo you see, that round green thing, because a lot of them are buried. A lot of these drain tile are actually plugged solid. And because there's holes, the water can go in it and it can go out of it. And the water's naturally gonna find the path of least resistance. And what is the least resistant? It's an aggregate. And the aggregate is what's underneath the entire driveway. And the aggregate is a combination of stone and what they call fine. And the fines are almost like sand particles. So when that water goes through that aggregate, it takes the fines with it, and it creates voids. And the bigger the void gets, and when the cars drive over the blacktop, the compaction is creating that depression you see in the blacktop. And over more time, more fines go with it, and you are created with, you're left with a hole actually underneath. So I dug one up, I patched it with clay rather than aggregate, rather than stone. And I compacted it. So hopefully, if it rains, this fall, and that clay washes away, then I'll know where the water's coming from. But if the clay doesn't wash away, and another sinkhole occurs somewhere around it, then it's reacting on the aggregate.
And what can we do? Pull up the
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
driveway
say.
Well,
and,
then what you do is you have to get rid of the source of the flow of water, which would be all these downspouts. They have to come out, they have to be applied to the top of the grade. So the water washes on top rather than washing underneath.
Well, the thing, I mean, you and I already talked about it, I mean, the downspouts that we have are all corrugated.
It's drain tile.
Right.
And drain tile by its nature is to pick up groundwater.
Right.
It's not to accept water from the roof and direct it.
no, I just wanna know what to do.
Okay.
I don't really
Does
understand. I
the-
don't really
Those
know
black,
or
those
care.
black hoses that are attached to the
Yeah.
downspout, they go underground.
Okay,
And they're all full of holes to disseminate the water.
okay,
And that's what's washing away some of it.
That's what's washing away.
so how do we fix it?
Take it out.
You take those downspouts out
Or you
and you
replace,
put solid pipe in.
or you replace the corrugated with solid pipe and direct it further downstream so it goes down towards the sidewalk and not towards your driveway.
Get a picture, I'll show you.
Okay.
It's a cheaper material. You shouldn't use corrugated pipe for downspouts
Oh, yeah,
for this reason.
I get it, so are we gonna like, somebody?
He's got a test going on right now.
Okay,
When he
so-
finds out the
Penny
resolution.
took hers out.
Here.
See, her water splashes on the ground.
That's the hose that was
Okay.
attached to that downspout, and it was underneath the ground there.
Hmm. Is that what you found that when you dug up your soil?
No, we
Oh,
wouldn't find it. Here's the downspout. There's the downspout. This hose was attached to that downspout,
Pipes underground.
and it went underground. I had bushes there, and it went underneath the bushes, and there was a green cap at the bottom of it. And then when we dug it up, it was full of garbage, it was full of stuff.
It was
Okay.
plugged.
So then, what we did is that. Put a finished piece on the downspout, and usually you have a splash block, but we did something a little prettier. We got
Flagstone.
flagstone. It was with
And
flagstone.
to just, okay,
So this
the water
water,
comes down
this
and
water
it
will
just-
hit here
all right,
and it will
okay.
spread out
Well, that makes sense,
and
okay.
it'll flow on top of the driveway
Okay,
rather than underneath the driveway.
okay,
It'll water my plants, it'll water the grass.
okay, I'm getting it, okay, so
All
we're just
the way up
kinda,
until winter time when it puts a sheet of ice on it.
No, not where it is. No,
No,
because it's in between the two driveways and it'll go right there. And if it ices out, then we have a skating rink for my son to play hockey.
But when you think about the cost of fixing a sinkhole at $900 a crack.
Oh, no, I agree with you.
And there's gonna be many more sinkholes. You could have as many as 100 over a period of time.
yeah.
You're talking some major dollars fixing each one.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean when you fix it, it's not gonna come back.
Right.
So why don't we, when we're fixing, if this is our plan, in between the driveways, whenever we start doing building by building, why don't we start pulling those out?
I would.
You know, if we're gonna be doing the slit seating and whatnot in between the buildings, and then moving towards in between the
Well,
driveways.
they're not digging though.
Let's see.
No, I'm saying
It's
when
only
we
gonna
do,
happen.
You're talking about just in between the driveways itself, like your spot.
correct.
Okay, now I can agree on that. When we do that, one portion of it, yeah.
Correct.
Now, you don't want to pay anybody to do that. You say you're paying them $75 to $100 an hour.
Okay, so that's downspouts,
roundabouts.
there's sinkhole.
Makes sense. It's
Yeah.
worth a try.
Taylor, why do you have a cap on it?
Well,
What's the sense of the cap?
they do have a cap on
It's
them.
a-
The thing is
It's a check valve.
the corrugated pipe is a much cheaper pipe than a solid pipe. Well, if you're pulling water away from your downspouts,
Right.
you want it to be far away from your home. The whole reason why we have,
It's up to us. Not this operation.
I can't even think of the word I'm thinking
That's a
of.
separate.
No.
The whole reason why we have
Gutters.
gutters, thank you,
No, that's what I'm saying. I think
is so that way it keeps the water away from the foundation of the home,
I totally
That,
understand.
from washing out.
should we do
Well,
this season?
when they built the homes, they put corrugated pipe in,
Right.
so all that water just comes out as soon as it hits the first set of hose.
So that's what I'm saying.
Well, it washes all that sediment out with that pipe,
While they're
and
excavating.
now you have, you know, the ground compacting,
But why did she have a cap on?
because they put the caps on at the end of
But
it.
if
Are they
it's
solid?
unit is.
No,
that's
they're-
wrong.
they're-
And
they're,
some proceed
Like
where-
net or some mesh?
No, it's plastic. If you walk around your building, you'll see little plastic tops that come out of the ground, they're graded.
As well.
And they should stick out about that much above the grass.
We didn't do
And
volunteer committee.
they mow right over them. You probably ain't got one with these guys.
We could do a volunteer
They
committee.
blistered every one of them, I've seen some.
Maybe somebody
but-
wants to go ahead and do it on their own. Say,
It's-
you know,
it's a
say
bad
they
way of
found a reason,
taking
and
care
say,
of
post
your
your
home.
pictures and-
The foundations have problems if it's not something that is rectified.
We
You
address
know,
that.
that's why we're seeing it in the driveways
Right,
now.
a lot of times they go corrugated because they're called French,
It's not ready to go for.
Drain.
yet, but
They
I
go
just
under
got
and then they
information
come back
about
up.
one on there.
Absolutely right.
but this one stays under, right?
Right.
All right, so these three items, snow plowing, landscaping, downspouts, that, I believe those were all on the agenda, Scott, were they not?
Yes, and,
No.
that's,
Well, Dex has pretty
We
much
pretty much rectified that.
rectified that by bringing a contractor on board.
okay, where we have.
He's in the process of getting his insurance to Nancy Hinkins, writing her contract, giving his own contract. He already sent me the specifications on the 6x6, grade A southern pine.
Mhm.
They really don't need any treatment, but if you want to treat them, they say they give you the product to use, but all that is for discoloration. It's not going to actually treat the wood any differently than it is already treated,
Mhm.
and it is treated with copper, like I said.
Right.
So that application would go on probably a couple of months after they're installed. It would preserve the color. If you want to do it the next year or 2 years from now, I mean, that's up to us.
Now, what's the color? I haven't been able to find anything as far as the color that we can paint these or seal these. Do we not have one? I mean, I'm,
We wrote something in our rules
Yeah.
and regulations.
It just can't be like pink with purple polka dots or something.
well,
Something,
no, I mean, 'cause if I'd like to stain mine.
I think Steve's gonna stain it.
Um, Are we doing yellow, are we doing like a maple, or oak, or pine? I mean, is there a particular color that is in these? There's not. So each different
I
home
think
can
it
have
was,
a different.
well, I think in the rules, I think it was something like, in the same color palette,
Right, right. Well, that's
of
what
they
I
are
read.
now.
Of the building?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Balcony-
one building were gray, another building
Balconies
was
may
blue?
be silver stained, provided the cylinder stain is light in color and prior written approval of the board is obtained. Well, light in color, I mean, my light in color and your light in color are two different things.
That's
You know,
why it says.
that
that's why it
right
says
there-
board approval.
Huh?
That's why it says board approval.
Well, no, I agree, but if I say, all right, I'm gonna go pick up Thompson water seal and the color is the wood trim right there on the wall, and she goes and her husband would pick up Thompson water seal, and now it's the color of the, you see what I'm getting at?
They won't match
They won't match.
if they're in the same building.
Right, and that's my thing, we need to specify in writing in these things that what material to use,
Or what stain to
or
use.
what, right.
What stain, what color, palette.
I mean, we could go, to
I'll tell you what,
Menards and
why
get that.
why don't we shelf that until we get 15 decks finished?
Oh, no, I'm fine with it, I'm fine with it, no, I'm fine with it. I'm just curious, because it doesn't say anywhere in here.
I think that's a discussion for another time, maybe
Okay.
for next
Do we
spring.
have a list, Harold, of the 15 that we're looking at yet, or no?
Well,
You know,
I have one in mind, 1384 Remington, only because that one is pending a sale. And the issue came up as far as the deck goes, so that one would be included definitely, and it's in bad shape. It's in very bad shape.
now,
We need to-
is that the one that I called you on?
I don't think so.
We need to make
It's
sure
on the
that
corner.
all of these, if not at least the 15, but not all the DeSoto owners are written and told what we're doing and how much we're paying for it and their expectations
There's
on
all
paying
Nancy
it.
Andrews that.
She
Draft
does?
letter.
Yeah.
She's already,
She does, okay. Is she able to decide,
There was
pull
a
out
renter there,
the
the renter's
DeSoto?
gone, now somebody wants to buy it.
DeSoto?
well, we're not just doing all the DeSotos right now. Whichever, 10 or
Well-
The
15.
15?
Right.
15,
Once we get the list of
we
those.
were gonna get a list from the contractor.
Right.
What I was gonna have them do is, rate them like 1 to 5, 5 being the worst. And then maybe we could go around, we could rate them ourselves, and we could see how we match. I'd rather have a little bit more of an expert, pick what he thinks are the worst ones, and what we might think are the worst ones may not be.
Sure.
So, I think that's the way we gotta go about it, and that shouldn't take very long.
We
could
also need to make
probably-
sure with Nancy, I'm sorry, we also need to make sure with Nancy that there's, how we would do this, this special assessment and getting the money back from the homeowners. How that would work.
We agreed that it would be,
90
Right.
days.
be
Right.
9 months.
I-
But we
well,
would do a
right,
special
I just-
assessment.
Right.
Right.
Is it a separate billing
It's on
or?
their assessments.
Probably add it to the assessments if you pay monthly as an add-on.
And if you're one of those that do automatic, you just
Yeah,
write
you
a check.
automatic.
Yeah.
All right, so the decks will be determined within the next 2 or 3 weeks, which ones are gonna be selected, and when it's gonna commence will probably be, I would think, like the second week in October, and we'll probably only go for a week.
Mhm.
So you have like maybe the middle of October towards the third, into the third week. That's when it'll be completed.
Any later?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so I was out of town, so I apologize. But we have a deck. So will there be a report that says, okay, these 15 are going to be repaired, but these 30 don't need repairs? Or should we go out on our own and repair it? Or, I'm sorry, I wasn't there, so I don't
I
know.
would not do it on your own right now.
Okay,
Let us get the first 15 done. See how it goes. See what the end result is. If your deck is selected as one of the ones that we're going to repair,
mhm.
then why should you think about doing it yourself?
Because I don't know if it's one that you're thinking about, or
If
that
it's
the
what?
contractor, I don't know if mine's on the list of possible repairs.
Well, we don't
We don't
either.
have a
We haven't,
list.
we haven't
We don't have a
Okay,
selected.
I understand, and I know, I apologize because I wasn't there, so I don't know.
No, we don't
But I'm
know
just
either.
saying, I mean, we haven't been out there all summer.
There's a lot of bad ones, so
Yeah.
we're probably gonna end up replacing most of them over a period of time.
Okay,
I'm
but
thinking
if,
of like a staged, like a year or two.
And that- a
and the
year or
first-
two?
Well, like the first 15, and then,
I'm just, I mean, we
next summer.
haven't been out there all summer because we're
It's
afraid
tricky.
it could collapse or
Well,
whatever.
hers is one of the ones when the engineer came. It was the first one we went to, and he kicked it in the post moved.
And I'm just saying, like, I mean, if
So I
it's
told
gonna
her,
be
"Don't
a
go
year or
out on
two,
your balcony,"
can
because she's got little kids.
I repair it myself? Or if it's okay, is the engineer gonna say,
You actually could repair it yourself, but you'd probably end up paying for it yourself. So
well,
if you-
could I use your contractor to repair it?
Yeah,
And
but
just
if we-
pay for
but
it?
if we can
Depends what it's
include
like.
you
It's like
in it.
$770, and you'll pay half of that.
Okay,
But it's based on 5 at a time.
okay.
So if you do 1 at a time, if you have a guy come out just to do yours, it may be a considerable amount of money.
But I'm just saying, if you're doing 15 now, and I understand that they can't all be done at the same time, and I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying, if you do 15 now, and mine is not one of the first 15.
You want to
She wants-
include it.
she wants-
Okay.
Can
yeah,
I
yeah.
can I do it ahead of time, because maybe I don't wanna wait 2 years before I go out there
Absolutely,
again.
absolutely.
And I'm not,
It won't be 2 years.
okay,
It's
I mean,
not-
I'm really not trying to
So
be
what you're
argumentative.
saying is, if there's 5 more
There's
people
five.
like
I already
you,
got her.
Oh,
I
okay.
already, yeah.
if there's 5 more people like you that want it done, and if they're not selected, they could easily make it 20. I'm just saying 15 was like, kind of like a magic number to
Yeah,
work
no, I
with.
understand, and like I said, I
We could do
wasn't
30,
there,
I mean.
so I'm not trying to, I'm just, I'm
We
just
get it.
curious,
It's okay.
because we haven't been out there.
Okay,
all
no,
summer.
that's just a very good point.
And-
And once we get this website, that's gonna go out for all that information, and maybe it turns out that, maybe 30 people want it done, regardless if they're selected or not. I mean, this is just arbitrary. The worst ones have to be dealt with
Yeah, no, I
first.
understand. And I know that, you're working within a budget and whatever, and that decisions have to be made. So I'm not trying to say that your decisions are incorrect or wrong. I wasn't there last week, so I don't know what was decided. I just wanted more
I mean, it's still,
information, and I
it's
appreciate
still a
you
good amount of
addressing.
money that the associations have to front,
I
to
totally
fund it.
understand. And I'm,
It
I
might
was
not
just-
be-
Put her on the list. She showed
Yeah,
up.
show me on
Get
the list too.
She probably will be anyways, because her posts are.
They're really bad?
Yeah, they move.
And maybe there are
That's the one
units
that's
that aren't
gonna bolt up off
occupied,
of there,
that,
so.
we would maybe let go
Most likely,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
for
some
units
that
that are
are-
occupied.
yeah,
So,
they're-
there's-
That's
yeah, and I
consideration.
mean, like I said, I understand you have to make decisions, you have to have a cutoff.
But what's
I know.
your address?
Still work.
1335 Remington, and I'm not asking for special treatment, I'm curious, because there's a lot of deaths, so if only 15 make it in,
We kind of like that you're not able to use it, because then you come
Probably
downstairs and the
over.
kids can play.
I'm sure it's probably the older ones that are the most warped and all that, because they
The
didn't.
the reason I selected 1384, because it's a pending sale, and I think we'd like to have an owner live there than keep it empty or have a renter there.
yeah,
Wouldn't you agree?
well,
I think
yeah.
This would be a good point for that.
But I've been a long-time
to be sold.
homeowner here too,
Well,
so I feel like I
absolutely.
should be able to use my deck, so that's why I'm asking, if it's not gonna make the first cut,
And like
You know,
Dave
can
just
I-
said, probably the older units probably need more work than the newer ones.
It's possible.
can I use the contractor to do it myself? Can I
Absolutely.
call him and negotiate?
But what I'm saying, why should you? If we all
Well,
agree
hopefully I don't have to.
that we're gonna, front 50% of it, why should you have to pay that 50%?
Well, I wouldn't want to, but, I mean, I haven't been out there all summer. And I have
Okay.
2 little kids and they wanna know why they can't go out there. And I say
No,
because
that's
it
a
might
very good
collapse,
point.
I mean, I'm
I
just,
understand.
if you're saying 1 to 2 years, that's a long time. But if it's not that long, then I can wait and find out.
Sorry,
Figure it out.
I know, just that we were gonna do it in stages.
I understand, just curious.
All right, so that's
You want
good.
your name on the list, I have no problem.
Since we want to cut this short, Scott, have you got any issues you want to bring up? Anything?
Well, actually, yes. We have made a decision for getting receipts. A couple meetings back. We said cap 250 for receipts from PSI. Now, from what I hear, I have to go pick, I never heard if that was approved.
I'll tell you what,
I told you what you had to do.
Scott,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, because when I wrote, the notice to
Mhm.
Nancy, approving what the board approved, I said, let me know if Scott has to come there by himself, or if you could have access to the paper, I'd be willing to help you get them. If you're off on a day and I'm off on a day. So I will call Nancy and I will let you know when that's gonna occur. And I'll try to push her for within the next week.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's good. I just wondered if there was an update. I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
I got some. I'm looking at this budget,
Okay.
this proposed budget, and before we make an approval on the budget, I want us to reassess the home association fees before we approve the budget.
You mean master association or what?
No, I'm talking about our budget. I want us to look at our association fees before
Have
we
you
go
looked
and
at,
approve.
have you looked at the proposed budget?
Yes, that's what I'm on.
It goes down 5%.
It
You want it to
does,
go more?
Yeah, I think it should.
Well, it depends, because if we keep the attorney on retainer, then that's added on to that also, and that's.
I think we
much
should get
bigger
rid of the
than-
attorney. I mean, yeah, they
You're
do some
not
work.
being mentioned in lawsuits, so.
I think it's this, what really chased me on the attorney is this tax appeal thing. We didn't, you and I and whoever else didn't have to go searching around for an attorney to assist us in the tax appeal. And, I read our contract from them, the original one. They could have assessed our tax appeals for our community. It was written in the contract. And the funny thing is
So you're just angry because you had to do some work, and it's not.
no, it's not that. Why are we paying for attorneys on a retainer if they don't want to represent us?
But
when we need them?
I did, now your
But you.
folks are
heard
gonna
Jerry
mention,
said also.
Nancy Hankins, oh my gosh, but I did talk to Nancy about that with KSN.
Mhm.
And she said it's just not their thing. He said, if you want to be more successful, Nancy, you need to go to, and she gave me a list of attorneys. I called all of them. I got contracts, but we decided not to do that.
Right.
You guys said that you had a cheaper attorney who would do it.
Right.
So we haven't heard from you, so
Well,
I went ahead
after our last
I-
meeting, I told him pretty much can't exit
Right.
because that's what we all agreed upon.
Right, and I went ahead and independently did it this week, so
How did you fare?
they accepted it, they read it, they said, looks good. Got a big old accepted on it, and we'll see.
Did you have comps back here? Just the whole deal? No,
Filled
my,
out the form and printed out
I
comps.
mean, that's,
my friends that I know that are attorneys, and they're real estate attorneys, they live in the communities in the Barrington area.
Just in case you need a couple, I have printed off some
They,
extras.
they themselves have
Everybody
to
got some comps that are
So
closed,
retain
they
an
printed off
attorney.
extras.
But
watch
that's not
their
my,
homeowners
is that my unit?
association.
No.
I don't know,
They don't
this
handle
is,
it
yes,
themselves.
there's a couple I think in here of
They
yours.
leave it to the gentleman, that's all he does.
Because I don't have.
And that gentleman
But it
compares,
has to be on their form, Jen.
Here,
They
you
have
look
to-
through
it has
those,
to be on their
look through
form.
those.
Their
What
comp
does?
comparison form. Go on the website. It's
No, it
very.
doesn't.
Yeah, but my
Yes, it
printer,
does.
I
Yeah.
turned in some and it doesn't.
my printer doesn't work, so how am I gonna?
I turned in some and I spoke with them.
you came over the
No, we went to Waukegan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I went to Grant
And if
Township
you want to use
Building.
it, if you can.
And I turned in 2 comps like that, as well as a comparison grid that had unqualified and not validated, 3 of them. And I couldn't use some of them because they were not, I have a 2-story, and those were
Right.
the 3-bedroom,
Right.
all upstairs, and they
Right,
wouldn't
right.
use
But
those.
she said
So that's why-
specifically it had to be on that grid
No.
last week.
Right, she did. I remember her saying that. But now the thing is about that, because I was talking with the attorneys, and he was saying as long as it's square footage, the floor plan ain't got nothing to do with
Okay,
it.
well, spoke with the guy today, and they wouldn't accept mine because of that reason.
But I think that's only because they are familiar with our home. Really
I don't know,
do.
so I just asked my aunt to send me some more, because she's a realtor, so I said, send me more, please, and she sent me more. So I printed out a bunch for me, I printed out extras for other people, and if people need more, I print out more of
it's
those.
almost impossible, Frank, to get this whole community together. as you know.
Exactly,
And
it
be
would just wouldn't,
represented.
it wouldn't have happened right now, it's
What?
too short of a time period.
Well, that's the whole reason why they give you. I mean, it's something for us to prior plan.
But you have to do it a year.
What an attorney does, because I was asking Tony how he handled it, he says, the ones I've done in the past, he said, I would go and I would get a signature from everyone, like we had discussed, a formal document, resubmit it back to PSI or himself. And then he would start submitting the appeal. The assessor that they retain are responsible for going and pulling the MLS documents for new style home. Tony told me, he said the assessor stated the amount of short sales and foreclosures in your neighborhood is very difficult for me to handle at this moment. That was, he didn't say, I said, well, I appreciate your assistance, however, the agreement that we come to last night was pretty much what we made.
Right. And if you go on that grid, there are ones that say not qualified, not qualified.
Right.
And then you have to select the ones that are qualified. Because the
She said you could use
unqualified
them
are
qualified.
like, she did,
Yeah.
but I ended up doing like pages.
So how did you end up handling yours?
I haven't done it.
You haven't done it.
We got
You
mine
can
for
do it if you
24.
go on the website. If you go on the
Yeah,
website,
you-
My
that's
work
very
schedule
hard.
last
I did it like
3
20 minutes
days.
ago. I emailed it.
Well, in order to get it appealed, otherwise, if you don't do it, when I went there today,
You don't need, all you need is internet.
no, yesterday.
I don't need a printer?
If
All
you
you
don't
gotta
get the
do is go to
paperwork
the,
in yesterday,
Lake
she
County
said otherwise you're gonna have to send it to
website.
another, the next
And
step.
there's a thing, I
Whatever.
don't know if anybody
Probably
has
Waukegan is what
a
it
sheet,
is.
I don't know.
Yeah, I do at home.
Yeah, just
Like
call.
I gave you a hard
Play
time
with
on
it.
the
Just
phone
call
and said
Jerry
that,
Barb at
you're gonna go to the
Lake
bottom
County
of the
Assessor
pile if you
Office.
submit it
Ask her how to do
tomorrow.
it.
I'm
She'll
like, well, I was
walk
bottom
you
of the
through
pile,
the
you guys got to
The
approve
last
it
meeting, I
because I
know you weren't
submitted
here,
it
but she handed out
yesterday.
paper.
So you can
Like
still
I
submit it to
just all
them,
line by line.
they'll have you fill out
And
their
you don't need a
paperwork.
You're talking about here. or Grant?
I'm talking Grant
Unless you
Township,
wanna
they'll
bring
have
it
you
in.
fill out a piece of paper to mail in.
But yeah, you can
Kind
go
of
on
like
there
giving
and
you an
select through all the
extension.
different, it'll list
So you can still
all the
get
houses in
it
our
in.
neighborhood, just go through
So
and select,
if
you
you
know,
want,
the lowest.
get whatever
ones, and
paperwork,
then
I'm going there tomorrow.
Put it on the grid.
I could
and just
drop
save
your
it on your desktop
paperwork,
and
I could
email
drop
it
your
to you. In
paperwork
a couple
off
days,
as
you'll get
well.
back to
You
you.
can do electronically too.
Right, like we do
Town
electronically
website.
also.
Benton.
So if you wanna do that, I'm going there
Okay.
anyways.
So,
Are we
let's
good?
continue on. Any other issues?
No,
The only thing I
Any
wanted,
other issues, Nancy?
one, because I got
Do we-
No.
I got
$90,000.
You have a couple items?
I was just gonna bring up two things
That other one.
regarding our contract for renters. If we have a lease for the renters, if we have the rules and regulations for renters, and if we're getting, I just need those ones back with the stars.
Okay.
But I could print off, well, I could print off.
No, we're
Yeah,
just
I-
looking
yeah.
for,
Go ahead, it's okay. If we have that packet of information together for renters.
We don't have anything in our rules and regs about renters.
Right, that's what I'm asking, if we can get something together for that already.
Add it to it.
Right.
she doesn't have any more. So I have this one.
But we can poke around in other websites for other rules and regs and see what they have for renters.
Question?
In the binders that we received, we do have the forms if you want a copy of them.
Forms for what?
for renters, and exactly what has to be done.
No, I understand. Scott is gonna be getting together all that information so that we can get them to homeowners and have all the proper paperwork on file. Because I know we have some renters right now that their paperwork is not on file for the renters. And I want that all on file, especially for the particular units that we have issues with for renters.
You're gonna hate to do what I got for you then.
What's that?
Spill it.
We'll wait till it's in.
I did it last year.
Wonderful.
And
All right,
everything.
next thing I just wanted to bring up, I'm gonna hit our hot button here,
I want to say two.
our website. I asked Nancy to forward me any documents electronically, so I could put that on there. I spoke with the guy last night for a little over an hour, getting familiar with the website. And so I wanted to get information and ideas of what to put on there, because I don't want to hear that I'm
Well, the rules and regulations.
taking over and making it my own.
We should put the rules and regulations, and then announcements.
All the documents, right.
Announcements, board meeting, open workshop meetings.
Minutes.
Go off of Terrace Springs.
When will it be almost?
I can open it up while it's under construction. I mean, while I'm just adding and changing and doing, I can open it up to
Do we
homeowners.
have a
And
date, target date?
we could even pass out, if everybody wants the email address.
Yeah.
I'd say open it up.
Yeah.
That way we
Yeah,
can give
people
you
can,
input.
sure, absolutely. The website address is www,
How do you spell
this is
it?
for homeowners as well, www,
How do you spell it?
www. Sound like my son, how do you spell the word I?
Which I.
UAE.
The I is an I,
Yeah.
because he's learning how to spell, so.
www.
.towns@remingtonpoint.com.
AT?
Yes.
AT or?
Ineas.
TOWNS @AT
AT.
Remington Point. All one word.
What is it? Oh, so it's not AT.
Is there an E at the end? No?
At remingtonpoint.com? Is that what you said?
Well, I don't know, is there any at the end of the point? No.
Yes.
There is. That time?
Towns at Remington Point.
Pour oil over it.
Got it.
Okay, good.
Did everybody get that? Towns at remingtonpoint.com?
Here for a safety.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
And that way at least you guys can go on there and tell me what.
any
Yeah.
questions from the
Whatever.
audience?
I know Frank just touched on it a little bit, but is there any, I know there probably, it hasn't been set in stone, but is there any at least just ballpark figure on what we can expect our assessments to be decreased to this
It's
year?
about $5 to $10.
$5 to $10.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
5%. We're looking at
Anything's in the
5%.
works to get it down, maybe $50, $20, $30?
You know, Josh, I did a little bit of math, and I think it's to safely say $30 is gonna be a safe number. You know, 5 to 10, I don't really think that's gonna be serving much justice,
Yeah, that's
but
30%
extra burger a
is
month
a
is
quarter,
Right.
25%. You're gonna have to show me where you get it.
$186,000
Yeah, how you
at
get
the end of the
30?
year, after all is said and done.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I'm not trying to say that the transfer of the extra monies was about 100K. I'm not saying that was a terrible decision to put it into a CD. I think that was pretty fantastic, but I just kind of, not very good at math, but it's some quick numbering, you know, you divide 100,000 divided by 166 some odd units. I mean, that's easy. That's flat, that's not even adjusting for some people pay more than others, like flat. You could have dropped everybody's assessments each month by $50 a month, just with that extra money. So, you know, again, I'm not saying that the $100,000 was a dumb decision, but I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of potential, meaningful potential that can be done to get the assessments down much more than $5 or
There's a lot
$10.
of bad debt that we're gonna have to account for this next year with all the,
There's a lot of foreclosures and short sales going
and
on
it
in our
becomes
community.
debt, like $2,000 people owe the association, and they're just,
Yeah, but I mean, you know,
But
if
you
there's
still have
$100,000,
$100,000
yeah, that's what I mean, if there's
at the end of the year.
$100K left over and there's what, $250,000,
Yeah.
half K
So you're
reserves,
saying let's
you know.
only worry about people right now and not worry about 5 years
No,
down
that's
the
not what I'm
line?
saying, and I've brought this up numerous times before, is that I'm not saying don't put money in reserves, I'm saying
Well, you
you
know,
can still reduce
we
it.
can look
And
at all
if you
the
got 100
records
left
from
over,
PSI,
it's
you'll have a
obvious.
good idea.
It's
and
clear
let's,
that there's-
you know,
there's
let's
room
agree
to-
that that's gonna be, you want 30, you know, why don't
I
you
just think-
and I get together and we'll fight it out?
Well,
Wanna do that? I can look at it.
I just
have
think that
to
our
look at it.
budget, my whole motion for us finalizing the budget
Mhm.
goes hand in hand with the association fees. You know, if we approve a budget, well then there's no negotiating association fees.
Right.
We need to financially look, and I agree with
Right, we
him,
have we have a tentative prospective budget that's
Right.
out there.
but
I haven't had a chance, I've looked at it
Is it realistic?
briefly. I think it's realistic,
I
we've
think
accounted
5% is fine,
for.
but
Okay,
it's not enough.
okay.
You're
Well, let's
talking
look,
$10.
then let's look at it, let's look
Okay.
at it. You and me, we'll get
Okay.
together and we'll look at it, okay?
Or
And
if
we'll
it's
find
not-
out where the, you know,
Or if it's not what you think it should be?
let me know.
We had
It's not.
100, but
Or, wait.
his point was, we had $100,000 in excess on top of $26,000.
But we, don't forget reserves, guys.
Right, no,
We have to
that's
fund
separate.
reserves.
Right, no, and I agree with you.
Being
That's
funded.
separate from reserve.
And we're funding.
And the 26,000 was from the difference in the landscaping companies.
Okay.
Right, that was a lot.
We went from 80,000 down to 50,000.
I think we need to nail down the snow plowing and, you know, what we're gonna
I
do
mean,
for
the
landscaping next
budget is
year.
fairly similar to what was last year.
Right, well,
You know,
I mean,
you know, it's very similar. The only thing that's different down there is budgeted for some gutters that need to be, I don't know, I think I told you
Extermination,
about
you
that.
put in
Gutters,
5,000,
exterminating,
6,000.
you know, some extra things that we've found that need to be done throughout the community. So,
Right.
you know, to cut money out of there, it would be landscaping, it would be exterminating, it would be fixing gutters. I mean, to cut money out, that's where we'd be cutting money out
You know, I'm
of the
kind
communities in the community.
the
You
gutters,
have a budget. Okay?
Right.
You've already set up these expenses.
Well,
okay?
let's get a let's everybody get a copy,
We have
and
that.
let's look, we do have copies, let's all bring them.
Right.
Highlight what we think is discrepancy, and we can talk about each line item.
Until
Let's
you
do that
can
at the
get
next,
copies,
at the
how are you
next
gonna
board
know?
meeting. Which I will be.
From PSI.
Can we maybe shoot for the 9th of October at the next workshop to iron some of this budget,
the, I mean,
the 9th of October?
And that would probably be what we have to, because, you know, the little booklets have to go out in January, so we can't go much later than the end of, you know, November-ish.
And then look for the budget, I'm assuming they got it, it's first of the year, right? It's not fiscal like every, you know, not
Sorry?
October.
Usually,
ours is,
first.
yes ma'am,
My question is, we will be switching the management company?
I'm sorry.
Are,
Switch
we will be
management company.
switching for different management company, or we will be staying with the PSI?
You know, I think it's something that we ought to address when we look at our budget.
I think that's always a possibility.
Can you try that, or that's gonna be like only always possibility for next few years?
Well, we did have a meeting that
Yes.
Penny arranged, and only
I
Scott
was.
Rose showed up. Were you there?
Sure, I was.
It was the
Okay.
three of them.
And we
And there was
decided
one
at the
proposal was
next.
very good, they was not charging for every single copies, and many more stuff was included.
I agree, there were
Well,
some
we
that
can
were
save money
very,
also.
very good. I put together an Excel sheet comparison, and some of them were very good.
Okay,
You know, and I think at the election, it was determined that the new board would make that decision, and it hasn't come up.
Right.
So
But that's not
Maybe
to
we
say
can-
it's not gonna come
we
out.
can discuss that and put it on the agenda.
Okay,
So,
can we
so make
discuss-
that agenda item for next time as well?
exactly.
And how about with, cause I gotta reiterate some of this in my head. We're doing landscaping, grubs,
Take notes.
Right.
oh, I got
Landscaping
memory.
and grub.
Decks.
Decks, next meeting, how about we all bring in another estimate for management companies as well, and then that way we can do a comparison and,
But then
You
you-
find-
yes,
I
that's
know you're
what-
not
Send out
aware.
your Excel sheet, my Excel sheet again.
I mean, so do you wanna look at new ones, or do you just wanna go with who you all had? I didn't come, so I
That's a good
don't
point.
know who
That's a good
we
point.
had access to, so.
I think any possibility is always welcome. If we can save money and we can reduce our assessments
We
And
could also
still-
negotiate with
and
PSI.
still get what we want, why not? I mean, everybody would rather pay less assessments,
Oh, yeah, absolutely right.
but right now, what we're paying for, we're not getting the service that we're
Right.
expecting. That's why we have to find the right companies and then use that in our budget.
So,
But whatever we were paying to this landscaper, or whatever landscaper we pick up, if we can save money, now that's.
no, I agree.
That's on the downside for our benefit.
Well, my question is, do we want to look at other management companies, or do we just want to go with the ones that they already proposed? It's a totally new leaf now,
Yeah,
so,
bring more in, sure.
okay.
I want to weasel my way into Bowman to get access to all those management companies that belong to that organization.
Right, I remember you and I have
It's
been
not
talking about
that
that
easy
before.
for me to get in there.
Okay.
I have to get in there with a management company.
Mhm. Okay, Ballman,
Well,
it's game, I get it. Give me one name and I'll find out who it is.
all right, so is that it? Is that all we have from you guys? Is there anything else? You said you wanted to talk about something else in closed session? Is that it?
I'm good.
You're good? So that's it. We're done.
I wanted to talk to you guys. Just 5 minutes.
All right, so,
Thank you, everybody.
so give us a break.
Okay, now that you're all there, settle this goddamn thing with Scott. Get the, whatever his problem is, fix it.
A new management company records open meeting.
No, Scott.
Why is it my fault?
Oh, that's what let's talk about the management company? Well, they
It's a
put
lot
that
of
on us.
things, it's a lot of things.
Well, fix them.
It's kinda hard.
It isn't hard. Everybody has to give.
Oh, no, I
Join in the middle.
I'm just messing with you. That's what I was
I
told.
feel bad for whoever buys it.
Negotiate.
You just got it.
Be nice, folks.
Not my problem. Oh, I don't live in Shirley, not
We
my
don't want to
problem.
see him angry.
It's just a really new.
Yeah, he's got a red face on it.
They'll just keep getting fines.
Guy that
I know.